This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Lenovo. See more at Lenovo.com. Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is 395, episode 395, being recorded on
today,
April 13th, 2016. I'm Ryan Schrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malentano.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
Are you joining us from the plains of another existence? Where are we?
That looks familiar. That looks strangely familiar to me.
I came up with some new, I don't know, I did my own green screen thing here. I thought it was pretty cool.
Are you going to do some Windows XP tutorials for us?
That's what I was recording before. I forgot it was Wednesday night, so I have a few in the bag already, but I thought I could keep going.
I understand. Welcome to the show, everybody. Sebastian is our extra special super secret guest. Quick reminders to everyone. PCPro.com/podcast is where you can find all the RSS files to subscribe to and everything. If you want to come to our live recordings, Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, at PCPro.com/live. You can do that there. If you need a gentle reminder, you can sign up for our emailing list at PCPro.com/subscribe. And that actually takes you to this page here that asks for your name and your email address. And that's pretty much it, guys. And we send you emails whenever we're doing our podcast streams or we're doing another live stream. The last couple of weeks we did an HTC Vive. We did a Oculus Rift live stream. We've done some events with prizes recently. And if everything works out, I imagine we'll have several additional live streams coming up in correspondence to GPUs as we hit into the spring and summertime. So sign up for that mailing list and always be on top of your PC Perspective knowledge base, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I will take this moment here to have a friendly reminder for our Patreon campaign. That is at patreon.com/PCPer. You get this little page here that shows some smiling people at the top, all of which are represented here today. Jeremy is not in that picture, but he is in there in spirit, I think.
We blame Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you can get to the 5,000, I will suddenly appear between Al and Josh.
We may or may not green screen him into that. Yeah, that's a good spot, right? Between Alan and Josh.
We can do that.
There's enough room for like a Jeremy, maybe half coming over the back of the couch.
Yeah.
Or something there.
Planking.
We can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that one guy can Photoshop him in.
Yes, we do have a Photoshop extraordinaire in our group that might be able to handle that. All of that, these are recurring contributions to us. It goes directly to us creating content. It is our way to kind of have the community help support us, help us supporting to do extra things. There's some milestones. There's some stretch goals here. We can talk about, if we hit that $3,000 mark, which I'm going to be honest, we've kind of been stuck in this 2,100 range for a while. If we hit that 3,000, we'll start to do a weekly mailbag show where we answer a bunch of questions from our readers and viewers and listeners, however you consume us, if you will.
Whoa.
Can all be covered in this particular area. So patreon.com/PCPer. And if you update or add to or become a new subscriber during the podcast, I will call you out for doing so, just like I did before we started for David Bindle, who did a $5 pledge, $5 per month to help support PC Perspective. Now, before I move on to the first things, I think we're going to go ahead and announce here that Ken is leaving PC Perspective forever, and after the next, actually 6 minutes from now, I'm going to have him put the multi thing on, and I'm making him leave.
Yep.
And I'm taking his key from him. He doesn't know this yet. This is the surprise.
Oh, thank God.
And we have a vat of mineral oil near the door.
That's right. Ken is no longer, well, let's see. What do we say this? Next Friday is his last day.
Yep.
As like
on
a
Earth?
regular, well, hey, that's up to him.
The police finally caught up to me.
As an intern.
His last day as an intern. His last day here is like a normal PC Perspective contributor. And he's going to go, I don't know, I'll leave it to you if you decide where you want to say where you're going to work or what you're going to do. He's not going to work for a competing like tech website or anything like that.
Right.
That's not the official story anyway.
He's going on to greener pastures next to Sebastian over there.
He's going to have a virtual job. It's not a real job.
Like a simulator?
Like a job simulator.
Yeah.
It's a Pseudo job.
He's going to be playing Job Simulator full time.
Yep.
Ken,
I'm tweeting about it.
so we are very saddened by this. Ken has expressed interest in continuing to come do the podcast with us.
Yep.
So that we still have the capabilities to do that. We don't have to rejigger a whole bunch of stuff. And hey, it's on Wednesday nights. And what the hell else is he going to do? Honestly?
I've had my Wednesday nights blocked out from here until eternity, so I might as well.
How long have you worked for me?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. It's been an amazing 6.5 years, hasn't
It's
it?
been quite a ride.
We've been to some interesting places. We've done some interesting things.
Yeah.
He's decided he wants to take a different direction on things, and we're sad to have him go. But
New challenges.
yeah, he's going to get to this job.
New bosses to work for.
He's got this new job. It's going to be like, oh, you got to be in by 9, and sometimes you got to work
Actually-
overtime, and they're going to be like,
Oh yeah, I never work overtime.
and they're
true.
Not technically.
true.
and they're going to be like, I'm sorry, you can't just listen to podcasts and music throughout the day. This is a very stiff corporate environment. He'll be back in 3 weeks.
Yep.
I give it 3 weeks, guys. Don't worry.
4 tops.
It's all 4 tops. It's going to be
But don't
fine.
worry, Ryan will bring him back at 20% less.
Yeah.
Oh no, Ken will have to pay us now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
for the
he wants
privilege.
back through the
How do you
door.
do
he's gonna
that?
have to
That sounds
start
like an
paying.
amazing
That is-
idea.
that's
I
good.
don't know.
We should get
We
into
gotta
that.
figure that out. So feel free to leave your comments, positive or negative, for Ken. I don't really care.
Feel free to trash Ken in the comments.
Chat room.
Readers, the comments below on the podcast thread. Tell Ken how you really feel.
Oh dear.
I will leave it like that, and that's you've moved on from the world of Windows XP, Sebastian, to what you were truly destined to be, which is an evil overlord of the galaxy. It seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should finish that battle station. That's going to be important.
It's okay. It's fully functional already.
Should whoa. His hands just. He's,
Huh? What?
whoa.
Oh,
If you only had a
green screen
cow,
guys.
a rear end.
Oh. Really? I don't think we're gonna put that on there.
I want to see that arm disappear.
No, we're not doing
Josh,
that.
I'm a little concerned that that's the
Faster, harder.
first thing that comes to your head.
It is all the time, every day.
It shouldn't surprise anybody. It might be disturbing, but it shouldn't be surprising.
Again, not surprising.
All right, so let's move on to stuff that happened. We're going to start here with Sebastian first, as we briefly discuss the VIVO Titan mid-tower enclosure. I have never heard of this brand. I've never heard of this case before. But what the hell is it?
Well, it is new. It's a new brand that popped up on Amazon. They have a few different products on there. They had a case that was like $59 that was had a few positive reviews on it. So they agreed to send us one of their sort of enthusiast level cases. They're trying to grow a little bit in the business. So check out the Titan. The Titan is kind of your typical mid-tower. It's got that sort of open look that a lot of cases have. Like when I was using it, I was thinking like something in the Silverstone or like NZXT, like the H440 kind of series look.
Okay.
And overall, like just to kind of condense this down a little bit, it's a little bit thin on construction. It's not flimsy though. Like it felt really light taking it out of the box, but I was impressed with how it's actually pretty well made. And the fans that came with it are really quiet. They look nice. They have blue LEDs on the front. And it cooled really well. It wasn't the quietest case, but it wasn't really loud either. It was just kind of average. So I mean, then you start to look at price. Well, it's $74.99.
It's pretty good.
Like full retail. So that's not bad at all for an enthusiast mid-tower. It didn't have a ton of room for cooling. Like if you want to do like push-pull, you've got to use like the space outside of the fan mounts, which there is room for. If you're using like 25 millimeter thick fans, you can easily do that. Like I said, it performed pretty well. The one thing that really stood out for me was at $75, it actually had a fan controller. So you have like a low or high or off control for the front and back fans right on the top panel. So something you usually don't see in a more affordable case. So for that reason alone, I started to kind of, the $75 price isn't too bad. I would love to see this $10 less. I think it would be a lot more compelling at $65 because it's an unknown brand.
Right. Is it a brand that like only sells on Amazon? Is that like...
It seems to be. They seem to be like exclusively selling through Amazon. They have a bunch of different products. They actually have a website that sells to like distributors. They sell things like ergonomic furniture and monitor arms and things like that. So
Right.
overall, not bad at all for the price, but I think to be competitive, they might need to bring it down a little bit. But
That's fair. What was the name of this again? This was
the
the
VIVO Titan.
VIVO Titan Mid Tower. All right. And yeah, it looks all right. It seems like it doesn't seem to stand out in any particular way, but it's pretty good, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for room and you don't mind a little bit of a limited storage capacity, because this thing only holds 2 3.5-inch drives and it has space for up to 3 SSDs.
Okay.
So nothing heavy on that. Like for a tower this size, you often see a little bit more storage than that, but not with this
Sure.
style. Not with that shroud over the bottom covering the power supply and stuff.
Fair enough. All right. In other news, so I posted a short editorial story. To be fair here, there's not really a launch that's happening along with this, but AMD kind of was going out of their way to a handful of media, a handful of press, and actually talk about their drivers. Right, so hey, they were basically trying to brag about their driver improvements over the years.
Yep.
Right, and so all of us had an internal discussion about it and what it was like and how they've changed things. And it was interesting to get kind of what their take was. So if you think back to when did the Catalyst Omega driver come out? That was like early
in December.
Was it?
It was
No, that was the Crim.
no, it was in December.
No. It was
December
it was May. It was
2014.
December of
That's right.
2014.
Okay. Wait, say that again.
The one driver to end them all.
Yeah, December 2014 was the first Omega.
Okay.
Crimson was November 2015.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Omega was kind of like this first wave of, hey, we're going to take drivers seriously. And the problem with that was that they released it and it was really good and it added some features, but then they really didn't do crap for a while. Like they just didn't release the quantity of drivers that were really necessary to keep up with games and keep up with all that other kind of stuff. And then they released Crimson, which was a total redesign of things, both the user interface and some of the feature set as well. And with that, they kind of promised more changes. Since then, they had released 7 driver releases in 2016, including 3 WCL drivers, which, if people don't know, that stands for the Windows Hardware Quality Labs, I think.
Yes.
I think that's what that is. Now, to compare that to the first quarter of 2015, they released 0 WCL drivers, and I think 1 driver total, 1 beta driver total. They've added support for features like Vulkan, the Rift and the Vive, X-Connect, which is their external graphics technology, per game display scaling, 2-display affinity. They've added a lot of interesting features to it. Now, one of the things that's very important. Very important to the perception of drivers for gamers is the idea of day one support for things.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So when a game like I don't know, Gears of War or Plants vs. Zombies or Rise of the Tomb Raider, the day it's released, is your driver ready to have your hardware work optimally, both in terms of performance and in terms of stability?
Because people want to play it.
Because they want to play it, right? And there's a huge subset of the gaming enthusiasts that buy a game when it comes out or in the first week and want to play it. And for single-player games like Rise of the Tomb Raider, that first week or 2 weeks is the most important.
Yeah.
Because once you're done with it, you may never play it again. Games like Battlefield or Call of Duty, the long-term support of it is more important. But if you release a driver for Rise of the Tomb Raider 6 months after the game comes out that improves performance 40% and stability by a lot, what use is that necessarily for gamers that may have already played through it and with a poorer experience with the title? So one of the things Andy was talking up is hey, NVIDIA has their game-ready stuff, but we're doing our best to keep up as well. They're making huge strides in terms of improving things. And this little table gives you an idea of some of what they've been able to do. Rise of the Tomb Raider came out on January 28th, driver on February 5th, for example.
Yeah.
Right? That's a week behind. It's kind of okay, that's close. Maybe I'll give you that. But if you look at other games like Far Cry Primal, they had a driver with the Crossfire profile in addition there. The Division, they actually had a driver out before the game came out because there was a beta going through it and stuff. Hitman, they had a game out the day before as well. And there's a couple of other ones like Need for Speed of 3 days.
Yeah, they had a driver out the day before, yeah.
Yeah, Need for Speed, they had one like 3 days later. Gears of War, they had one out like 8 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So they're close, but they're getting there. They're kind of making that case. And their claim was that, hey, look, there's a lot of games coming up in Q2 where we're going to be able to make this impact known, this extra emphasis on
keeping
our part.
up with the zero.
Yeah. Have this impact known that it's going to do that, right? So, and they are also talking a lot about, hey, NVIDIA has had some slip-ups recently. They've had drivers that have been pulled from their websites. They've had, like the Quantum Break driver that came out has been very poorly received on NVIDIA side. Lots of crashing on the game that doesn't exist on AMD cards. Performance tends to be a little bit better on AMD cards. And they really just kind of wanted to come out and say, we're doing this. Now, we had like a kind of a back and forth with them. I did personally, because they basically wanted to make the claim that, look, we're better than NVIDIA is on drivers. And my argument back to them is you are getting better at drivers. But try to use this analogy, like with a hardware, with a new graphics card, you can release a new product and the next day you're the leader. You can be the performance leader. You can be the price for performance leader. You can do that in the span of one day. For drivers and software, it's more of a sustained excellence.
It's a reputation thing.
But even more than just reputation, because that's just perception, right? You actually need to have sustained quality drivers. You can't just like do it for a quarter or two and everybody go, oh, okay, and us not remember all of the stuff that you did in the previous time where there were months and months go by with no drivers, right? So they're moving in that direction. They're moving swiftly in that direction.
They're definitely getting better.
And a lot of it comes down to their renewed focus with their Radeon Technologies Group reorganization, Raja Koduri being at the top of it. A lot of people internally, even before RTG was formed, kind of saying, hey, look, we have to take this stuff seriously because our hardware is better, but everybody thinks NVIDIA's drivers are better and their software is better, GFE and all that type of stuff. So we need to compete with that. And they're starting to take it seriously, and it's showing now that they are making those strides. Because people who had followed me on Twitter saw that I did like this kind of question out to them. It's like, hey, what are your thoughts of AMD and NVIDIA drivers today versus what was your thought on them a year ago or maybe 2 years ago? Right. Josh, what was your, like you and I talked a little bit about this as well. What is your view of where AMD drivers are today versus where they used to be a couple of years back?
Gosh. Well, it's obviously a lot better. But I mean, they're still not quite there yet, but I think that the amount of parity in between NVIDIA and AMD when it comes to driver is improving dramatically. It's kind of interesting. You look way back and like at the R300 release, the 9700 Pro, the drivers back then, they had a really bad reputation, and then they released that product and they had like a quantum leap forward. And they kept improving things to the 9800s, and then like the 2600 and 2900 XT came out. Right. And they kind of fell back a couple of spots, and people were complaining about, and the AMD driver quality was not great, and that was, from ATI, and then they came out with Catalyst and say, hey, we're going to have a monthly, weekly update, and they kind of improved, and then they kind of fell back, but all this is it's money, it's technology, and it's developers working with the companies to help get all these things working together. And I think in terms of that, AMD has a much more robust driver development team than they've ever had before. Right now, they're not perfect. Neither of them is. No. But there's certainly some areas of parity that we have not seen before. I know I was talking to you about when I was trying to run SLI under Windows 10 back in August and September, and it was an awful experience. And NVIDIA, had problems. AMD didn't seem to have as many Windows 10 problems. I mean, they had their both fair share, but AMD was a little bit ahead. And, then that's kind of swung back around. NVIDIA improved SLI support. And, not to go on a tirade, but, they certainly have improved. And they're a lot more stable now than they've really ever been before. And it's a focus instead of just kind of, well, we're adding this in and doing what we can, and that's kind of the least amount that we can do without spending a huge amount of money to at least make games run a little bit.
Right. Jeremy, I know you're a longtime AMD Radeon GPU user. Do you see that the drivers have gotten noticeably better over the last couple of years? Or a year even?
There's certainly been an evolution. I mean, you compare this to what they've got now with Crimson, which, in a way, a lot of what they've added to it isn't stuff I'm at all interested in. I don't tend to do separate profiles. I'll find a stable overclock and I will stick with it.
Right.
But having that is a very valuable thing. The other thing is that the old scheme, I mean, after spending so many years staring at it, you just sort of get bored of it. You get used to it. It's handy. You know where everything is. That's for sure. But you just get annoyed with, okay, I'll right-click, tell my driver properties go open, queue up a YouTube video. Oh, okay, there it goes. It launched now. And do your stuff. With the new one, it pops up instantly. You can actually get at it. Once you go to the advanced, it does take you a little bit to come back. But overall, you don't really need to play in there a lot. And I've played a little bit. I've probably touched one NVIDIA card in the last 2 or 3 years. And I found their multi-monitor support to be annoying to set up.
Right.
It would get quite frustrating. Now, the AMD's had some interesting issues, especially since I'm flipping back and forth between portrait and landscapes, significantly more than I think most people do. So it's a little bit more vulnerable to that sort of an issue. But the last couple, haven't had any problems whatsoever with it compared to, say, the Omega drivers, where you had to fight just a little bit to try and convince it to rotate its orientation, and it got really, really upset if a TV was attached, because it would love to default to the TV. So you're trying to fix something, and next thing you know, okay, no, I've got no screens here, but if I go over, oh yeah, there it is on the TV. Okay, let's get a wireless mouse over here, fight with it to get it back. This is significantly improved.
The last thing I'll say is, with the release of Polaris this summer, they have the perfect opportunity to demonstrate that. Mm-hmm. Every reviewer, every enthusiast will be reviewing cards or paying attention to reviews of cards. Every new game that comes out will be tested on these new products. And we'll have Pascal as well. So this is the perfect opportunity for AMD to prove itself.
Right.
For NVIDIA to defend itself, and for everybody else to kind of pay attention and relearn or re-educate about what your opinions are from these different vendors. So,
and if you could fix Mordheim, that'd be nice.
Should be
the latest update worked it.
Well, there's always going to be stuff.
Oh, there's always going to be that.
All right, let's go back to our remote colleague here to talk about quickly about the Edifier Pure Sound H840 Hi-Fi monitor headphones review. I don't know anything about these except we're back. Okay, we're back in Windows XP land.
Ryan, thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of the new features of this operating system. Windows XP, it's built on the proven code base of Windows NT and Windows 2000.
Yes.
And it features a fully 32-bit computing architecture, and it has fully protected memory as well. You can run DLLs side by side from individual different versions of Windows. You could have Windows 98 applications running alongside Windows 95, running alongside Windows NT4, running alongside Windows 2000, and the new applications coming with Windows XP that take advantage of some of the new features, including our enhanced device drivers, dramatically
about Windows Media Player.
Windows Media Player is fantastic. It plays, it's really more of a hub of your digital lifestyle, with VGA and better quality video playback, silky smooth frame rates of over 15.
I think you're almost affording the lines from the installer.
Before Sebastian gets
he may be reading
by Microsoft to be their spokesperson.
Yeah.
And Al, it wasn't the installer; it was the new and exciting installer.
The new and exciting Windows installer.
29 minutes remaining.
29 minutes remaining. Yes.
32 minutes remaining.
I feel like I've seen this before. Have you ever starred in the TV show Friends before?
Oh,
that was 95.
Was that Windows 95?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. The Friends cast did a Microsoft video.
It was just two of them.
That's true.
It was just.
Was that Windows
Jennifer
95?
Aniston and Matthew Perry.
Thank you. Josh is a huge Friends fan.
Huge.
Really?
So
Never
let's-
would have thought.
Let's talk about the headphones instead of
Oh,
the
okay.
XP. Sorry.
Briefly.
Yeah.
These are stereo headphones. So you know.
that means 2 channels.
2 channels. These are not multi-channel headphones. They're just
Luckily, you have 2 ears.
yes,
That's true.
2 channels, 1 for each ear if you have 2 ears.
That's a fair assertion. Yeah.
These are kind of on the smaller side. They're over-ear headphones. They had moderate noise isolation properties. I was very impressed with these. Just to
So what's the backstory? What is this brand? Do I know? this
Edifier, I had never heard of them, and then I did a little research for the article, and I'm like, oh, Edifier bought Stax. I've heard of Stax. They're like electrostatic high-end headphones that have been around for a long time. They were kind of the original electrostatic headphones. And this brand seems to be pretty committed to like high-quality sound. So I get these, and I'm expecting these are going to be kind of a boomy bass, not very kind of lifeless sound, and not at all. Like these sounded like much more expensive headphones all around.
How much are these?
These are $40 on Amazon.
Oh, really?
$39.95.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's really hard to do with speakers or headphones is really fast response to dynamic shifts in volume. So this is a big deal if you're listening to, you know, a movie or like a game soundtrack. If you have an explosion, if you have a speaker or an amplifier that's not quite capable of delivering a high dynamic punch, you'll have kind of a drop in sound and it'll kind of come back up, almost like an old limiter sound effect.
Sebastian, look out!
Catch the egg.
Sebastian, look out behind you.
But these, I was really impressed because you listen to like a drum, you know, like a crash of like a bass drum kick or like an explosion in a soundtrack, and you were able to actually follow the sound as it kind of faded out, and there was no like recovery time at all. It didn't seem like I ever had any kind of dropouts. It was extremely kind of punchy, lifelike sound. So
Cool.
for the price, especially, these aren't like, they're not exceptional at all as far as build quality. You would not want to sit on these. I don't think they'd survive it, but they seemed well enough built, just kicking around my house for a few months, and then I never damaged them. The cord was a little on the thin side. That could be an issue, but overall, excellent sound for $40. They sounded better than most headphones in the $80 to $100 range that I've heard.
That's pretty impressive.
How about dubstep? How does dubstep sound?
When the beat drops, it matches like the energy. Josh, you just have to experience it. I mean,
I do.
One of the best resources for dubstep related news, by the way, online is at joshtech.com.
Yeah.
Josh Tech with 2 Ks, TEKK.com. We've started a new review section, Josh and I, and next week it'll be going live on the site. So keep checking.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it.
Just keep checking.
I can't.
Josh and I, it's a little sidebar. I didn't want to tell you, it's kind of a surprise, but Josh and I have a little sidebar project. We
I got a
Skyped
surprise
together.
for you. It's coming up right behind you.
I'm surprised too.
That hawk is pissed.
Yep.
It's pissed.
If I just don't move.
All right, we've got a handful of short little news items to get to this week. A little bit slow on the uptake for us on a couple of things here. Basically, Ken told me he was quitting, and I basically cried for 3 days.
Yeah.
And
We just
couldn't-
gave
Hold
up all
yourself
hope.
together.
couldn't get any content. Like, really, this is why I bought the red nose. Right,
Yeah.
it's to hide my sadness, right? Like the clown.
You just look so much happier now.
You know,
Just a Lenovo
the
nubbin?
story is, it's. Don't actually. I don't want to get into that. Clowns are always the saddest, right? It's the comedians that are the saddest inside, right? So that's what the truth is. Here.
Pagliacci.
So lian-li getting into the power supply business, as it turns out, announcing a pair of SFX-L power supplies. What does the L stand for here, Sebastian?
It stands for long.
Ooh, like that jump is.
Added length.
They don't look long.
Well, SFX
long.
power
They are
supplies are
SFX.
stubby. They're like
Oh,
really
okay,
short.
okay. Because it's an
And-
SFX form factor.
Yeah,
right.
but for the same width, if you go just a little bit longer, you can put a bigger fan. I think these have like a 120 millimeter fan, so they can spin slower. And
It's almost like they're trying to get the normal size power supply.
if you look at them
no,
side by
like,
side,
you
it's
scroll down.
hilarious. If you look at these side by side with
Oh, the cables.
Oh yeah, there you go.
if you go to my review from like 2 years ago of the N-Case M1, I have an SFX sitting next to my smaller ATX power supply, and it's like a miniature version. It's like less than half the size.
All right.
Anyway, we were up to 750 watts with this. And when I was at CES at Silverstone's booth, they had on display a 700-watt SFX-L, which still hasn't hit the market. I think they're still working on it. I don't know if they're working on certification or what exactly is going on with that one, but
They're pushing it just a little bit further with the 750 because,
and this is
because
a different...
the connectors are extending out versus the 550.
Yeah,
they're sunk in. So it's like we need another quarter inch
in there.
We just need extra space. So just like some stuff has to stick out because it can't fit in there anymore.
So will SFX-L power supplies work in SFX cases? Like they'll
work in standard cases. Most of them come with a bracket.
But the cases that you need an SFX power supply for,
well, like for instance, that super tiny end case. Absolutely, because the limitation was the bracket at the top.
Okay.
So the SFX bracket, which was on one side versus the ATX power supply on the front, you saved a tremendous amount of space if you used SFX only because of how shallow it is.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how long it was because it was sitting behind like your system.
All right.
Actually, in that case, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look
Your
to see if it
mileage
would
may vary.
bump into the top of the motherboard or not. But yeah, if...
It seems like an odd thing to design to this very specific small form factor, then make it a little bigger.
So many
so that
ATX
nobody
cases
validated
support
anything.
full-size ATX power supplies, but things get really cramped inside when you use them. So just being able to have that shallower power supply, even on an ATX mount, would make it a lot easier, and maybe would allow you to use like a bigger graphics card in some small cases.
Huh. All right, that's interesting. Lian-li, yet another power supply company coming into it, but
I think it's an enhanced design they're using.
They seem to have more justification for getting into it because of the cases that they make or will be made.
I mean, they
maybe
could
we're
just
going
make a
back
line
to the era of the power supply with the case.
Yeah.
Oh, those were always the greatest power supplies I ever used.
I mean, a lot of the SFX cases come with power supplies, right? Don't they?
Some of them do. When they require
more than ATX.
There's a TFX. There's some really narrow, deeper power supplies in like the small form factor, like business machines.
Okay.
Those always come with the power supply. But.
All right, let's move on and talk with Allyn about Intel and Micron storage stuff. So you went out and visited them this week. What the hell did they say?
I did.
Really?
They said some stuff. So most of their announcement, or at least their pre-briefed announcement stuff, was enterprise.
Okay.
So they're just updating their lines. Micron's enterprise PCI SSD specifically have been historically like on the slow side. Okay. Like they've been PCIe 2.0 for the longest time. Like these are actually, I think, the first PCIe 3 that they're launching.
All right.
I also believe these are the first NVMe that they're launching.
Are these enterprise-specific devices, or are they consumer? Is it a mix? What are we looking at?
All of these in the top section of this piece right here are enterprise-specific. Okay.
It even says so in the title.
Yeah. Well,
you can't trust those.
They did slip in. They slipped in some.
Allyn's link bait titles.
Well, you know,
new products.
Other storage companies hate him.
Yeah.
Damn it, that's my job.
So the title was based on like what I had before walking in there, and then once they started to get into their briefing, like about maybe 15 minutes into it, they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to make a consumer 3D NAND available in April. And by the way, it's April.
Yeah, I was going to say,
now.
that's like right now.
So that is going to be a new MX300. It's going to come out. All right, so that's going to be a consumer under the Crucial brand.
This is the first IMFT 3D NAND
This will be the first IMFT consumer 3D NAND.
Right.
Actually, any like just available 3D NAND drive.
Okay.
What are they going to use for controller and NVMe?
I'm pretty sure they're going with Marvell for a lot of their stuff, actually. They have Marvell controllers, and just historically, they have Marvell in a lot of their stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's Marvell even in their enterprise PCI stuff as well.
Okay.
And did they do a lot of their own firmware for all that rather than Marvell?
They usually cook their own firmwares.
Okay.
They don't just use like, just the generic firmwares
off the
from
shelf.
Marvell. Yeah. And just even historically, they're like back when Marvell was making the first Gen 3 SATA, right?
Yeah.
And there was like the Crucial brand or the C.
Oh yeah, they had
had
the best implementation.
Yeah, they were always like on the leading edge of that, even though that same controller in other products was kind of crappy because like Micron tends to just re-engineer that whole firmware for those and just make it roll their own. And then they also had under the Micron brand, there's going to be coming out in June, and actually I didn't have the names of them at the time, but it's a 1100 series and 2100 series, which is going to be like a kind of more OEM-ish. They're not really going for consumer, because consumer is the crucial side. Micron's going to be like kind of the business.
Okay. Are these
kind of
what
side.
kind of drive? What do you?
So those are going to be 3D NAND, but like SATA and like M.2 and like, stuff like that.
Okay.
Right.
SATA and M.2 and stuff like that. That covers basically everything. So are they M.2 SATA or are they M.2 PCIe?
Will they be AHCI or
Both,
NVMe?
actually. On that picture,
Yeah,
you
there's
can
like two different keyed options.
on that picture you can see one of them's got Marvell on it, and the other one has Silicon Motion.
Okay. Nothing confusing here.
So Silicon Motion is the SATA one from the looks of it.
Okay.
And
And they're all branded the
Marvell is
exact same
PCI.
name, aren't they?
The 1100
Yeah,
and
because
2100
all that
series?
matters is the silicon motion in the ocean.
Yeah. So, and then also in there, they had
God
mixed
damn
in. One of their guys came up and kind of flashed a cross-point wafer around in front
Let
of
me
us
tell
for
you
a
what that
little while.
looks like. One of the comments I either saw here or something else posted about this was like a burying the lead. Oh, it was a Twitter comment and somebody said about burying the lead because it's actually us showing proof of a vampire because he doesn't have a reflection in the mirror. I believe.
If you don't look at his hands carefully and you think it's reflecting the other
Yeah,
way,
it says Lee is Lee Ball on Twitter. It says burying the lead. Man proves he's a vampire by holding up mirror without his reflection.
it's pretty good, actually.
There's that.
So they showed us Crosspoint. They talked about the kind of stuff that it might go in, but honestly, it was like all the stuff they were talking about was nothing new. It was all the same kind of stuff we've talked about, like things you would use to replace storage/RAM kind of device with. Like, what would you use that kind of a thing for? Like things where you want to be able to have power go away, but everything be
Right.
persistent, but also be a very fast device.
Okay.
Right.
I'm getting in. We have a hot exclusive from the Fab, actually.
Oh, yeah, I
we
think
have a
we can get our
reporter on
hands
site.
Oh, yeah,
on-
yeah.
Let me
hold
see.
on.
Let me see if I can.
We're gonna go out. We're gonna go out in the field.
Let's check in with Sebastian.
Hey, I was outside in the hallway, but I've gotten clearance to come into the clean room here
Without-
at
without
Micron.
Where's your bunny
Yeah.
suit? What you were supposed to put on?
No, he showered.
You were supposed
today.
to put on
It's
the
fine.
suit.
No.
They said as long as I I took off my
He
shoes, so
exfoliated.
it's fine.
Oh, you took off your shoes.
Extensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
His skin flakes are going.
What do you guys want to know? Because I'm right here. I've got a team of engineers.
How many crosses in the cross point?
That's classified.
How many points in the cross point?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
How many crosses in the cross point?
No, you asked that already.
How many points in the crosses?
How many points in
The
the
total
cross
number of points in the cross is inversely proportional to the axis itself.
What about the motion of the ocean? Is that involved?
The motion of the ocean, it really depends on who's
It
steering
depends on the heat
boat,
of the beat, right?
and yeah, the heat of the beat as well. I
And if
believe
it's
that
It's
was
also very
perpetual.
insensitive of you bringing up the ocean to a clean room.
I appreciate.
They've had bad times in the past.
Look at all those lotions.
That's true.
I do appreciate that you've color corrected this environment because normally they're very yellow in person, right?
That's true.
You've color corrected it to get us back to a solid white balance.
Yeah,
That's dedication.
It's because I'm so pale. It was actually very easy for Ken to key the color properly.
Ken, no. This is our remote processing and video team that's doing that.
Yes.
Well, I'm sending the feed directly to Ken.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Ken Clone
Yeah.
3.
He's taking care of it.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything else, Alan, on this particular announcement?
That was
here
it for
to
the event,
discuss?
and we hope to have like reviews coming up of MX300 as soon as they can get samples to us and stuff like that. So we might, this month potentially see some results of what 3D.
But they didn't talk about. Did they talk about performance of any of this stuff? Like what to expect out of it?
for like the enterprise stuff.
No, like the consumer stuff. The thing, like I don't.
We care about
That's all we
consumer
got.
stuff,
Those
Alan.
two slides that you see,
Will,
those two slides you see in the article right there. That's all we got with.
what can what do you interpret from those slides?
I
What
mean,
conjectures?
Look at that. That looks pretty quick.
Okay, let me narrow down that question for you.
Yes.
Samsung has been the 800-pound gorilla in the SSD market,
is
and,
not-
and
Great
and-
analogy.
and-
Great
and
analogy.
How do you think this technology compares to what they currently offer, and do they have the chance to leapfrog?
Will
Okay.
they bring us down into the 10 cent per
So
gig territory?
here's where I think the IMFT attempt at a leapfrog is. I believe their thing is solely like raw capacity per die.
Yeah, which
They're
is
going.
cost.
They're going for cost per gig, right? That's the thing that's going to bring down cost per gig. I do not believe that you don't expect to see super high performance out of these things. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say, like, if you compared these to probably an equivalent Samsung worth the same amount of dies, I believe that the Samsung 3D VNAND would probably outperform this stuff, especially on writes, because I don't believe Intel and Micron's push has been to increase performance as much as to increase like efficiency of capacity.
Okay.
On these things.
I'm totally for that.
These are very large capacity dies. They're 256 gigabit for MLC and 384 for TLC, right? And I even think, if I remember correctly, that the MX300 is supposed to be a TLC drive.
Okay.
So prior ones were MLC.
Did you ask them specifically, what do you know about Ryan's 10 cent per gigabyte demand?
Yeah, I think
actually every storage event or meeting you have,
it should just be a question.
We need to give it a name. Like
the problem is that you change that number.
Law.
You change that number a few times.
It's Shrout's Law.
Never
it used to be 20.
No,
it's been 10 for a while.
It has been 10 for a while, but it's because we haven't got there yet.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we started to get close to 20.
They don't go, in Moore's Law, when they double the transition, they go, well, I guess we're done.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
This is CIS 101 level stuff. Like I learned
Shrout's Law is
Right.
that the price will halve every 16 months.
I'll go 18.
The price that Ryan wants, or the price that it's selling at?
Exactly.
Once.
That's fair.
Shroud's Law. Ryan wants things.
Well, what he always wants tends to be like
it happen.
Tends to be at most like half.
It's
of
like
what
a
they're
limit
going for. So I guess it does.
Shroud's Law. Ryan will always want things he can't have
for less money.
For less money.
Why is this a surprise?
He's doing us a service.
I'm helping the community.
That's true.
At
I mean,
large.
I support it. I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
You're a hater. Let's move on. Thrustmaster introduces the Xbox One compatible TMX wheel, which is too much what? Too much excess?
Extreme.
Too much extreme?
Extreme.
Josh, tell me about this wheel.
Okay, so anyway, a couple of months ago, I did the T150 review. It was for the PS3, PS4, and PC. It's a kind of dual pulley and geared system that, it's an okay force feedback effect. Not as good as the dual pulley setup that the T300, T500, and TX series from Thrustmaster have.
But they don't try and kill you as often either.
Well, I don't know.
Can it wrench the wheel from your hands when you hit a wall?
It cannot.
Oh.
I mean, it's pretty good, but it's not going to do that like the T300 and TX have done and T500. And as compared to, say, like the Logitech, they have a dual helical geared setup. This is a little bit smoother in feel, but it's not as strong because it's a single motor in there. But it is a $199 product. It's the first Xbox One product that that is not a TX. That supports 900 degrees. It's less expensive. It's got pedals that come with it. It's very, very similar to the T150, except it's for the Xbox One. And I think that it probably is an Xbox One thing, that it only goes to 900 degrees of rotation. But as you can see, the TMX also supports the entire ecosystem of products. You can get the 2-pedal out of there and upgrade to the T3PA, which are just the standard 3-pedal, or the T3PA Pro, which are really, really, really nice. I haven't had one yet, but one day perhaps. And also the shifter. It can do 8 shifting or sequential. And it's a nice addition if you're into racing games. And certainly 2015, 2016 seems to be a resurgence of racing games on both PC and console with Dirt Rally, Project Cars, Assetto Corso.
Yeah.
We've got Forza coming out for PC as well as already on Xbox One.
Did they fix the Dirt Rally VR crap yet?
No.
Yeah.
I want to.
I want to do that.
Because I've seen videos of the pre 1.3 stuff.
Yeah.
And, the guys are looking around in there, and the people who have said that, they race that way, it's a more visceral experience because when you actually go up and down hills, you get more of a sense of how steep those climbs are as compared to just looking at your screen, which it doesn't move up or down whatsoever, and then the view screen has always stayed in the windscreen. When you've got the VR stuff, when you hit an up, your viewpoint goes down, and you have to kind of look up, and you get that entire feeling of hey, this is a pretty serious vertical climb that I'm doing, or this is a big drop.
I'm really curious to see. This is off topic of the Thrustmaster announcement, but I've heard some people say playing Project Cars in VR, because a lot of what racing games are is looking to the horizon, like looking at distant objects to plan ahead. That the screen door effect resolution issue,
it would be more noticeable.
It's more noticeable there because you're not looking at things kind of close to you. You're trying to focus on things far away,
and
so
you're looking
at
a line.
Yeah, you're looking at a horizon, like a flat horizon, and so a lot of the jaggies that would maybe be softened in other ways are maybe more apparent.
Yeah,
but I think the set of Corso may have better support there. I'll have to double check after the podcast, but something to look into.
I don't think it would be enough to be like a
$199 wheel. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a good price.
You can mount it on something, and if you're an Xbox One guy and you sometimes play PC games, it's a nice entry level for a good, solid force feedback product that has a good amount of rotation. You don't have bungee cords in there that's providing you, some feedback that just doesn't really work very well. It's a nice little product, and it's well priced.
You guys will appreciate Zach, my brother-in-law, is complaining that I had to inform him that the racing wheels don't work on Rocket League.
That's true.
Which is, I admit, is
sadly true.
It is very disappointing. I tried it, although he is going to play it on the Xbox. I wonder what? I doubt it. It doesn't work on the PC side, so such is life. All right, our next story here, Corsair. They announced this at CES. They're now officially releasing it, I guess. The Corsair SPEC-ALPHA Enclosure. It's this really angular design. Look at that photography straight from CES.
That looked really cool at CES. I remember that.
I know when they talked about it to us then, Sebastian, you can verify this. They went into it like, hey, this is really aimed at the Asia Pacific market.
They said
right?
this
is the
isn't
style
necessarily
that
going to come
Asia
over
Pacific.
here.
Speaking of which,
to the U.S. Where I am right now, I cover a global market.
Right. Yeah.
So the feedback I was getting was, hey, let's bring this to the U.S. So I called up Corsair and I'm like, hey guys, let's sell this to the North American market. And judging by the comments that we got on this news post, it sounds like the American market is ready for this. They readily embrace the design. If I could just read a comment right here, I love this. This is the coolest looking case I've ever seen. Awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Instant 5 stars. So yeah,
internally, it's essentially a square structure, right? That has
it's a very
plastic.
It's a very standard case.
Yeah.
On the inside, it's one of those kind of open.
Right.
The same open layout of a lot of cases.
It kind of reminds me of that. What's the thing from Half-Life 2? The big structure.
I don't know.
The Combine people.
The big tower.
It reminds me of the Bulldog chassis.
Yeah.
The Corsair Bulldog chassis.
It's funny because I think the same company actually made both.
Wait, what?
Enclosures.
Oh.
You think they wouldn't use extra? They would reuse design.
Oh, you mean reorient the legs and have
No, if we put it on upside down, they'll never know.
What's the weather like, Sebastian?
Yeah, we appreciate you calling in on your vacation.
It is warm. Where are you at exactly?
Egypt.
No.
Egypt?
I'd look again.
No. That's not a pyramid.
It's not a pyramid. I know you're off angle from the monitor. That's
not
actually a tiki hut.
Egypt doesn't have beaches?
Because
look, you need to travel more, Ryan, because where I am in Egypt,
if that was a pyramid, the size of that palm tree would be amazing.
Tahiti. Yeah, that's true.
I'm in the northern African area.
Oh.
I can't be more specific
than
that.
Or Tahiti, which is not near there.
Where there's lots of water.
What if he's in Fiji?
Check your plane stub.
Plane
stub?
Plane ticket stub.
It was an ambient haze, and I ended up somewhere. I'm just assuming based on this pyramid in the background that I'm in Egypt.
He flew into the Bermuda Triangle.
How much is the SPEC-ALPHA? $79.99 available now?
Yes, it's on their website. It's available now.
So if you compare and contrast, since you haven't seen this one in person yet, with this and the earlier one, the VIVO we talked about, before, what would you say is the pro con, I guess?
Well, it really depends on whether you like the look or not. I would assume, having only seen one briefly in person at CES, that the Corsair it's a pretty nicely made case that comes with some nice, quiet Corsair fans, and I like it has kind of a smaller footprint. It's hard to tell in the photos. There's one kind of like on a desk. It's a smaller case. It's a small case for ATX compatible.
Weren't they in the Palazzo, Corsair?
Sure, why not?
Yes, they
Yes,
were.
they were.
Yep.
Yeah,
Relevance is...
because that's when Sebastian came up with everybody else, and we all kind of met.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Patrick Norton was there.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay. Relevant.
And
he
these
molested
warm
Allyn,
feelings
Allyn liked
carried
it.
forth into our experience.
Relevance.
Actually, if you read the article at pcper.com,
Are you at the Luxor now?
yeah,
Yeah, that's CES.
I haven't left. Look, when you miss a
Right at the top?
flight, they can make accommodations for you.
Man, they really
I
let that place go to
chose
hell.
to spend my money on
might be better.
a room.
They really need
It's
to clean
all
those
for
windows.
4 months.
Looks like it's collapsing a little bit in some places. That's unfortunate.
Got random
But
people
yeah, so
walking around in
far
front.
our feedback has been that people don't like this design. They don't like it at all.
The pyramid or the case?
Both.
Okay, fair enough.
We in advance, I can already tell you about the negative feedback about my location scouting here.
You're not at Fiji anymore.
No, I never was. That was a backdrop. Look,
Oh,
I've been
that
in
was a
Egypt the whole
fake.
time.
That's why you
fake.
referenced the pyramids.
Gotcha.
I
All right,
slipped.
let's get into our last news story here today. Corsair extending their power supply warranties kind of out of the blue. Jeremy, what is the story here? What's the scoop, if you will?
Oh, you're not going to believe what you read next.
Okay.
Corsair found a way to get a solid 10.
Yes. All right.
No, this was out of the blue and utterly and completely brilliant. They took almost the vast majority of their very popular lines. So the AXI, HXI, RMI, RMX, they used to have a 7-year warranty. They just said, you know what, we're going to warranty them for 10 years, which is brilliant because it's hard to convince yourselves nowadays to upgrade your PSU unless you're moving to a completely new power envelope. Because it ain't like they used to be when they shipped with your cases, and the number one reason that you're seeing those blue screens was a really crap PSU.
Sure.
So these guys, it's like for the length of the entire time you're going to be using this thing, unless you do something weird to it or, the horrible things happen, you've got a decade of coverage. Chances are you're never going to use it, but it's nice to have it in case you actually do need it. And it's going to be interesting to see what the other companies do because many of them are still sitting at 5-year. Corsair was a bit of a rebel already doing the 7-year. So at the 10-year, it's a powerful reason to buy a Corsair PSU, to be honest.
Why would a company do this? Why would you
It's
suddenly
competition.
take existing product? But were there other companies doing 10 years or something?
No.
I was pretty sure 7 was kind of already the best.
I don't think I'd seen 10 years since PC Power and Cooling was a thing.
Yeah.
EVGA does
But
10 years
why
on a
would
few
you
of
buy
their...
a Corsair
Do they?
PSU?
Yeah.
Okay.
EVGA has, on some of their higher powered, I don't know
Yeah.
what is the cutoff is, but I know that like 1,000 to 1,500 watt power supplies had 10-year warranties.
Either way,
already.
this is awesome.
They probably just
Yeah, it
realized that their power supplies were reliable enough at 7 years. It's
Clearly.
like, well, if it
They
lasts
must
7.
have some really nice capacitors in there.
Oh, yeah.
The ones
Because
that don't
even
go
just
blow
acid
up.
rotting at that point.
Or they're just
Yeah.
counting on you not having your receipt in that last
It's all
three.
Totally
Polymer.
forgetting they had a warranty lasting 10 years on that power
That's
supply.
true.
You might not be
yeah.
worried about the receipt if they hadn't made them.
Hey, in
10
the
years
last
prior.
5 years with CPU and GPU advances that we've had, you probably were not going to be swapping out your power supply. And Corsair is like, hey, we don't have as many RMAs during this time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shit, nobody's upgrading crap.
Maybe you buy a smaller
As it
one.
turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anything.
Weird.
But
EVGA
hey,
does
we've
10 on
tried
their power
modular.
supplies.
Now everyone's got modular. We've tried platinum. Well, it actually doesn't save you much money, but if you want a platinum, a gold, or a silver, no problem. All of them have it. You crack open your PSU, and chances are they're going to look very similar. It's a little secret I'm revealing here, but there's only a couple of companies that actually make PSUs
What?
and the components.
Well, the
So
Corsair-
this is, okay, well, which one should I go with?
talked to other
Well,
PSU guys,
Yeah.
and they said, you know what, and I'm not going to name any names. They begrudgingly said Corsair has some of the best, not designers, but the people who spec out the parts that they use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they overbuild their
Component
parts.
selection.
And they actually, everything works really well together.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our hardware and software picks of the week, everybody, shall we? I'm going to go first because I said so. I'm going to pick this. Not a whole lot of people are going to be able to play it yet. This is Water Bears VR. I don't know if there's a non-VR Water Bears, but okay, sure. It's a puzzle game that works with the HTC Vive. It is essentially, what was the analogy, the other game that people compared this to, Ken? It was like
Pipe Dream?
Pipe Dream. Right?
Oh, okay.
Where you're basically rerouting water with different pipes and angles and splitters and stuff to fill up these bubbles that these water bears are in. They're not quite as microbial as they are in real life, and they're much more adorable and cute in this instance. And it's basically a puzzle game of moving things around. And you can see in the video, like on your left hand or non-dominant hand, you kind of have a collection of different pipes that you can use and rotate and move and change things around. And the idea is to free all of them. And the cool part about it is that it's in 3D space, right? So you can actually, like, there's a structure in front of you, and if your room is big enough, if you're doing the room scale VR, you can actually walk around it, and you have to walk around it in order to solve some of the puzzles
Tickle
that
the
you're looking through.
When you tickle the water bears, do they say, "Don't touch me there, you're not my father"?
No, not
No,
yet.
they seem to like
although
it.
They probably should, right? You know, it's cute, it's adorable, and it's one of the games that, like, I was playing it before we were recording the show, and it was just like, oh, it's very intuitive how it all works because of VR. You have these wand controllers that let you easily interact with the environment. And then when you free the water bears, you can, like, pick them up and look at them, and you can throw them off the side of the stage.
Throw them off the
So,
side.
hey, look, that's what happens
Freed
in VR.
them so you can just toss them into oblivion.
They seemed very happy as I threw them.
Okay.
You know, they were screams of "yay," not screams of "ah" as I threw them. I think.
all right.
I don't really understand.
Do you speak water bear?
I don't know. I'm just going to go with yes on that.
Okay.
Leave it with that one.
Because
So,
that could
Can
be
you
their
throw 'em into
extreme of
space?
mortal
And then-
terror.
No.
Hydrate them.
And then, a week from now, some video will come out, and it'll be like comparing these to the Loris, where if you actually tickle their belly, you're actually torturing them, and then, nobody will like the game anymore.
interestingly, so if you look at this game, so again, it is a VR game. HTC Vive, headset support, traffic motion controllers. The game requires a 3 meter by 3 meter space.
Okay.
We are not in a 3 meter by 3 meter space here.
Oh.
Right, but you can say yes, go ahead anyway. And I just had to be very careful about where I was walking because we've had a lot of practice in this kind of constrained environment, otherwise known as, it used to be Egypt over here.
It is very unsettling when you run into something in the world that you don't think is there.
Yes, if you're moving your controller and suddenly you hit a monitor or a TV or a wall.
Yeah, like everything you think you see and everything is like, oh, that's good, and you just like wing your hand out and it like runs into something solid. That's
It's cute. It's adorable. If you have a Vive, I would recommend trying it. It's $10, so it's not absorbent. I don't know how long the game is if you really get to value it at $10, but it's worth considering. Let's go to Jeremy next.
Oh, sure. Now it's me next.
Hey, look,
it is you.
Somebody's.
It's always you.
It's not me.
Someone screwed.
Somebody else.
All right. So I'm not suggesting you go out and buy the rainbow tables for the A5 ciphers that the horribly, horribly broken GSM system works on. But hey, if you want to understand how the cellular network works, and if you want to go somewhere where you're off network, but you still want to be able to have your friends communicating, like if you're out hunting in the middle of the bloody wilderness where you're getting no cell reception whatsoever.
Yep.
This guy found a software-defined radio that's about $420. He added a couple of antennae to it, hooked it up to a Raspberry Pi, and it is a fully functional GSM station.
Huh.
Tweaking it to get a little bit better range is, of course, going to be necessary, and it's hooked up to a power brick as well, so it's mobile. It's significantly cheaper than what you usually see these sort of devices going for, which can be upwards of like $100,000. It's kind of a nice way to be able to show off, hey, we're in the middle of nowhere, don't worry, here, put this SIM card in, it's hooked up to this system, boom. Now you can use your cell phone as a walkie-talkie in this area where there is absolutely no reception whatsoever. And you totally shouldn't use this for intercepting supposedly encrypted GSM calls and decrypting them on the fly stupidly easily. Because, that would be wrong.
I would agree.
Unless you're the government.
Sure. Positive.
But yeah, you could totally do that with this too.
All right, Josh, what do you got for me?
So, Jeremy, do you remember the Great White North theme song? Yes, SCTV. It was a great thing during the days, but that has nothing to do with my pick.
Oh,
Nothing.
Well, it's white.
No, instead it's inexpensive DDR4 memory from G.Skill. It's like 2x8 gigs for $59. It's faster than the DDR4 2133. That just kind of the baseline. So you get better latency numbers, a little bit faster, and it's just dirt cheap. Can't believe that 2x8 is this inexpensive, and especially for a new technology. So I had to order those because I accidentally ordered DDR3 when I actually wanted a DDR4. And that was
DDR3
me
cost you
doing
more?
bad reading.
I did that too once recently.
I hate that.
It's kind of awful. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but it's all the same price, so it's kind of
true.
cool.
True. All right, Allyn. Oh wait, before you do that, I want to give a shout out to Jonathan, a new subscriber or a new Patreon, if you will, new supporter, contributor, pledged $5.55. Thank you, Jonathan, for your contribution. We appreciate it. All right, now it's your turn.
so the guys that make a seat cleaner and stuff like that.
Seat cleaner?
Seat cleaner.
Seat cleaner.
C-C-L-E,
Okay, it's like
you
a
know,
car
the thing
Because
that's
I
like
need a seat cleaner right now. I've been sitting here for a long time. I've had some beers.
So,
I know how it
the guys that make that program also make a thing called Speccy.
Yep.
And this is the kind of thing like you're trying to figure out what's in a person that's not necessarily computer literate. Computer.
Oh, that's nice.
You're trying to figure out. Yeah, Sebastian didn't have a mute button. He also didn't have a paper towel, which it looks
So
like he really
close.
needs right now.
Sand got in his nose.
So close.
So,
Yeah, sand.
it's the kind of thing like, you have a family member or somebody is trying to upgrade their computer or they're thinking about it and you're not sure what they have and they're not sure what they have in it.
Yeah, this happens a lot.
Right? This is just it's a free program. There is an upgraded version that does other stuff, but to see what's in a system, all you really need is the free program. And it just gives you an immediate like breakdown of here's all the stuff in the system. It's it is all the stuff you could probably pull from Device Manager and a couple of other tools, but it does show you like RAM timings. It shows you, just all sorts of just information like CPU, your actual CPU temperature, motherboard temperature if it has a sensor on it. Like it's more
It's
in
like what Sandra used to be.
it kind of, but
Or Sandra got bloated as
yeah,
Oh, God,
this is
no, it's useless
this is
now.
way less bloated. This is just like what's in your machine,
what's in your box?
what's in your box, what's in
I
your box.
used to
CPU-Z.
CPU-Z did a system report output to a text file,
Yeah.
but this is probably a little bit better, easier to use.
It's more like
Nicer
layman kind of person
Yeah.
would use this,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, and I guess we'll check in one final time over here with Sebastian. You.
Windows XP has a lot of exciting new features and functionality.
You just plugged something into a USB port, didn't you?
I did, and anyway, so I've lost my entertaining background here. It's because my
Our
computer
system
crashed.
That's unfortunate.
Oh.
But, what if blue screens like this were interactive and easy to use?
Like a game.
In virtual reality.
Microsoft has introduced a brand new feature with Windows 10 to take this confusing mess and make it as simple as pointing your smartphone at it. It's QR codes for the BSOD.
I think this is a really good idea.
Actually, yeah.
How do you figure that?
That is a really good
You
idea.
don't
No,
think
it's a
that was
horrible idea.
Why not?
You know how long it would take you to pull out your smartphone, find whatever app you have to
Look,
read a
if you're
QR
like-
code, and open it and
If you're
scan
like
that
most
code?
working,
Dude, that's a
most
really good idea.
hardworking
That's like
As
American
opposed to
office
seconds.
workers,
As opposed to what?
I'm just saying the blue screen doesn't stay on the screen long
Well, they
enough.
can
probably.
make it
No, it
stay
stays.
on there.
It stays now.
while it
Yeah, if you
writes
turn on
the
debug,
dump,
it'll stay.
yeah,
What
you've
would
got-
take less time? You troubleshooting your non-working computer or getting out your smartphone and taking a picture?
I mean, all it's
I-
going to do is send you to the knowledge base on that,
I'm just saying,
whatever that error
it might
code
be
is.
difficult to actually scan the QR code in the amount of time that you're allotted.
Maybe. That
That
may be
becomes
true.
that's the fun of it.
drunk.
It's like a built-in game. Can you get your phone out?
Ken,
quick
I
enough?
Also,
Hey,
I think
Josh,
your
what-
experience with a lot of blue screens has been like the ones that do go away very
Look, Josh
quickly.
just did it in less than 5 seconds.
But there are
Josh doesn't know what app he uses to read QR codes.
Josh.
You just take a picture of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then get
You know,
someone else
I've-
to scan.
And then stuff
You can
happens.
take a picture, and most QR code apps will let you
my phone.
you like show a picture to it,
okay.
like import a
Will,
picture.
will
to
they?
it. Yeah.
I've never done that before.
Did you find it?
The first thing I
just
thought of
take
when
a
I
seat.
saw this was
Now, the
Troubleshoot
real-
blue screen errors on the
the-
you're
Windows
browsing
page.
the web, a pop-up comes up saying this with a QR code, and it's stupidly easy to infect your smartphone via a QR code, or to send you to a site which will immediately infect
maybe.
you. And this is just a
Maybe.
ridiculously easy way to screw with people.
That is true. You could just like
Like
somehow
stupidly easy.
do something that makes this full screen and has a
That's
QR.
true.
Well, in
Yeah.
Microsoft's
That's my
defense,
worry.
they have not actually implemented this yet. It was apparently like a test.
The
And it
real
only
key,
goes to a
I
test
think,
site.
I think this is a really good idea. The key is, can the link be to a useful spot of information?
Yeah,
right.
that would be
Like,
important.
Blue screens have never given me really like valuable information, and every once in a while
it
you
does
do.
for me because you
yeah?
know when it's something you can't fix versus you just misconfigured your SATA. Those are
like-
one or two cases.
It's either SATA or everything else.
iastore.sys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I messed up my
or
SATA.
I know I recently troubleshooted a
reform.
bad network driver. You know, what if it's the NIC on your motherboard?
I,
You know.
I think just like the blue screen information in general. I mean, we need more verbose stuff
What?
like we have
You mean
behind
IRQ not less than or equal doesn't tell you everything you need
Yeah,
to
It
know?
has that nice stop code at the end of it. All you have to do is type in 000000FA00.
Well, no,
memory
you got to
location.
install the Microsoft font package too, so that you can
Right.
access some of it. It works. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it works. Which
Alright.
usually is reformat the damn thing, anyways.
So that's it, everybody. That is our show for this week. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. Again, pcpro.com/podcast URL to find the RSS files for the video downloads, the audio downloads. You can subscribe to the RSS there. You can see the YouTube videos there, YouTube links, but it's just youtube.com/pcper, obviously. And I guess that's pretty much it. Again, live on Wednesday nights, everybody. Come join us. Come hang out. We now are live streaming on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube, just because Facebook launched that, and it seemed like an easy thing to add into our streaming software, so we did that.
Yep.
And I guess that's it. Ken will be here for at least one more podcast next week,
Yeah.
I guess. And then after that, I don't know. He already replaced himself with a circuit board, so
It's true.
Yeah, all we got to do is drown him in mineral oil and let him go free.
right. Wink, wink. The cops did
Yeah.
come by earlier, so we
the
got
Mineral oil,
everybody
tar, and feathers, and then we will
maintain-
send him out the door.
Remain calm on all this. Yeah, you're right, Sebastian. Kobe is hanging it up. So
I'm
Ken
like
is
I'm like the
going-
Kobe of my generation.
I'm gonna say no.
No.
Do you have shoes named after you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I never got that contract.
Ken's.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you. We will talk to you next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
Hashtag BSOD. I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malmontano.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
Bye, everybody.